Hello everyone, this is Jess from Jess Plans and Writes, and today I'd like to show you a flip through my Hobonichi for April 2022. So, first of all, as always, I'm going to start with my Cedon planner, which is my Shakespeare journal. If you're not interested in this, please feel free to use the captions down below and skip to the beginning of the Hobonichi flip. So I actually chaptered my videos now. Actually, I did that last time for for March as well. And now, from now on, my videos will be chaptered. You've already seen the March pages if you've watched this video. And what I would like to show you now, so this is the last page that I showed you. Here, April starts. This is from Sterling Ink calendars, from just such a little calendar sheet that I cut out the calendar and cut it in two in order to put in here. These are stickers from Sterling Ink, and this vellum is one that I printed myself. So everything here is Sterling Ink themed. The contents of this, it's about Prospero, about the Tempest, for example, about the role of Falstaff in Henry IV, and also a bit about Good Friday, even though this year Good Friday is not on the 10th, but on the 15th. But since this is a journal that is not dated, the Shakespeare journal, I mean, not this one, they more or less had to guess when in the year probably some festival might take place. All right, and here is again a Sterling Ink spread. I'm down to one spread for May, and now it's still two, but I think this spread turned out lovely, so I'm glad about it. Then from the means of, or content-wise, this is, for example, about the meaning of April and May as symbols for spring, and also as symbols for the beginning and the prime of life as compared to December and winter with their meaning of ending of life and old age. So that's a topic that runs through the April spreads in this Shakespeare planner. Here I decided to make a coffee-themed spread that doesn't have anything to do with the contents of this planner either, but I just wanted to use my Lin Jianing washi tape or clear tape and PET tape, and these washi tapes that I had that are also coffee-themed. Interestingly, or what I found interesting about this were the entries about Mark Antony and his funeral speech, in which he accuses Brutus of slaying Caesar, whereas in Shakespeare, Cicero, who was actually, this brilliant orator, is someone who gets ridiculed for speaking Greek rather than Latin. So the phrase "it was Greek to me" apparently originated from this, or I'm not sure, maybe in general from Greek being a learned language for people in ancient times that had Latin as their mother tongue. So their Greek was the learned language, whereas now it's Latin that's the learned language mostly, even though ancient Greek still is a learned language, of course. Interestingly, the phrase "it was Greek to me" in German, it would be "it's Spanish to me," because in the 16th century, when there was a union between Spain and Habsburg Austria, a lot of Spanish people came to the court. They were wearing black. They were all austere and serious. And so the people of Vienna, the Austrian common people, did not understand them, neither their language nor their customs. So that was Spanish to them. So that Spanish to me in German is "it was Greek to me" in English. I think that's interesting. Then I've got this very pink spread that's pretty unusual for me, but I wanted to have at least one spread that is cherry blossom themed. Cherry blossoms already blossomed at the beginning of March in Germany, but there are still cherry blossoms and there are also still pink flowers, so I think it does fit as well. This is about here Shakespeare's burial day, which is actually on the, and his baptism day on the 26th. Also, it's believed that Sonnet 145 was about Shakespeare's wife Anne Hathaway, and also found it interesting that Shakespeare rarely specifies the physique of his characters because he was aware that they would be played by different actors, with a few notable exceptions, which are Falstaff's belly, the hunchback of Richard III, and the height of Andrew Aguecheek. And also what I found interesting was that May the 1st was a festive day of subversion because it marked the beginning of summer and it was outside the usually binding rules and laws. So if you compare this to Labor Day, which is May the 1st in many countries, I think that's quite interesting by comparison, because Labor Day as the day where you don't work and May the 1st traditionally as the day where you subvert the natural order, I think those two fit together quite well. So that's what I found quite interesting as well. Okay, that's it for my Shakespeare journal. So far, so good. And now I'd like to go to my Hobonichi, also for March, of course. If you open it here is just the pencil board. I don't think I've shown you this. It's also from Claudia Muscat, just like this cover. And I'm flipping. Here is the summary of my entries. And I stopped tracking anything with this. I just made it a pretty spread. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue tracking, playing the guitar and things and writing, because I don't expect I'm going to get to it much until the end of June. So maybe in July I'm going to restart tracking in here again, not sure yet. Here is the first April related spread. Actually, this is March the 31st, which I've already shown you if you've watched my previous video. I'm just putting this away. I think it's a bit distracting. And flowers again from a calendar that I cut in two. I don't like this page, but I do like this one. So we've got rain and snow on the 1st of April, which I didn't like. And I also I think that the sterling ink sub box of April was super beautiful, also because of its bookish theme, which you may have seen in my Cedon planner. I'm just going to show you this again. So all these books, the book theme, that was something that I enjoyed a lot. There were some more book stickers, but I don't think I put them in my Cedon planner. I also bought doilies, which you are going to see in the following days. Unfortunately, since they're very thin, I have to do something to them to make them visible on paper like this, because as you can see, the grid still shines through. So what I did in the following days was that I colored the doilies to make them more visible. I also placed an order with pen and pages, in which I bought a journaling kit because I wanted to use a ring planner. And unlike this, which is my fun journal, so to say, my A5 Hobonichi, my 5-year Hobonichi, which is more or less just a summary of the day, this is actually some sort of reflection tool. Okay, there we go. There you can see the colored doilies. That's not one of the great spreads in this planner, just saying. But I'm trying to get into the groove of using these doilies here. And here you can see my erasable highlighters that are also ordered from Pen and Pages. I love the gray one and the light lime green one in particular, because gray is my color for April and lime green is my color for May in my work planner. So they're very useful for that. I wish I had this red one for December, because I picked December or I picked red for December in my work planner. Unfortunately, I didn't have that one yet, so I used pink, which I did not like at all. So maybe I'd have liked my December work planner spreads better if I had had that red already then. This is a wonderful color, wonderful blue that I can use for clouds, for tracking the weather, which I also do in my work planner. So all in all, I believe I'm going to get a good use of this set of highlighters, and my first set of pastel friction highlighters is almost, there's not much ink left in it, so it was not just a purchase that I made on a whim, but rather something that I bought because I think I'm going to get a good use out of it. Then on Monday, I tried out the journaling kit, still going or getting in the groove of using it, but I wasn't sure if it would be of use of me in the beginning, but it is. It was a purchase that was worth it in my opinion. I also discovered a new YouTube channel on that day, Rochelle in Theory, who is also a Hobonichi cousin user. I loved watching her videos, also her setup, enjoyed it a lot. This is what you got with pen and pages that I wanted to mark down there as well. I wish I had chosen this ink for there and this ink for this page, but other than that, I'm very, very happy with the spread. Love how the colors go together, love how the doilies go together. Content-wise, it's not that spectacular. It's more or less just about me struggling because I had to bike through the storm and on later days on Thursday and Friday in the rain. And it was quite exhausting. My days as such were quite exhausting. That's what you can see with this drawing here. And well, yeah, just some journaling about food and stuff and being tired. Such stormy weather, again, rain, and I had ginger tea, rain and storm, and I also put some flowers down here and also some sterling ink washi. Yeah, that's more or less it for these days. On Saturday, I actually tried to de-ring and re-ring a ring binder from Filofax just with a screwdriver, and it did work. So I de-ringed the silver rings and re-ringed them with brass rings because they're more golden colored than the silver rings, which didn't quite fit this or didn't quite match this pocket here, in my opinion. And I'm actually keeping some washi samples in there. I also keep my journaling kit, as you can see, and they always look like this. So from Monday to Sunday, you've got this worked really well. My mood, not good, very good, or incredible. That didn't work well. That's what I can do better tomorrow. I'm grateful for 1, 2, 3, my day in one sentence. So I don't know why I put 2 in here, but I did. So after a week of these, you get a notes page, and then you get a weekly reflection that works like this. That went really well. That didn't go well. What do I want to do next week? I will do more or less of whatever. I am taking care that whatever. What did you struggle with this week and why? I think that's a very good question. What do you want to have finished at the end of the week? At the end of next week, sorry. What's important to you right now? And that's just something that you can fill out in, I believe, 5 to 10 minutes. Especially the dailies, they won't take you long. It's just this. You don't have to write like 4 lines. If you've got just one thing, you can just write the first 2 lines and then go on. So it's quite quick. And I do think the questions will provide you with some insights. So there's that. That's what you get in here. And I also bought this notepad by Filofax. I actually cut it in half and just put 1 bit in here because these are 19mm rings. And I actually found that I prefer these smaller rings. this is more portable to me than the, I believe it's 23 question mark millimeter rings that come normally with this. So I figured out that I'm a smaller rings girl. I didn't understand that for the longest time, but I do think this combination, this thing here works for me. Also, I hope. We'll talk again in 3 months, I believe. So after I've used up my weekly spreads from Pen and Pages. Okay, so much for that. And I just put a cardboard thingy, just a piece of cardboard as sort of a backing plate in there, because I did need some sort of backing plate, because this is much more flexible than leather, because it's just some sort of fabric, I believe. For leather? I don't know. Yeah. That's my anticipatory planner struggle that I'm talking about there. I actually told you the resolution in my March flip that I'm going to use the second half of a Cassin Avec in July, and that I'm going to stay in my Stellargy for May and June. I used to use a Rhodia Unlimited notebook for April. I've also shown this, but I'm actually glad I'm going to, today's the 30th of April. I'm actually glad I'm going to move out of it today, because I really don't like that it doesn't lie flat. I could cope with this for a month, but if I were to use this size again, I would want a notebook that does lie flat. I don't know any notebook in pocket size that lies flat. So if you do, please write it in the comments below. Just give me some info. I'd love that, because the only solution to my problem that I know of is to use a Hobonichi notebook and to just cut it down to pocket size. That's the only thing I know. But if you know of a pocket notebook that does lie flat, and that is perhaps a soft cover rather than a hard cover, that would be my preference. But also if it's a hard cover and it lies flat, please just tell me. Okay, so there's that. It was also the day of the first part of the French presidential elections, where Macron came out first and Le Pen second, which is what everyone had expected. And thankfully, 2 weeks later, Macron won against Le Pen again. I'm German, as you may know, and the Franco-German friendship is important to me. Europe is important to me. I'm very, very pro-European. So I am very glad that the pro-European candidate came out as a winner in the end. Whatever you may think of Macron's politics as such, he's pro-European, and he is not a right-wing nationalist, which is what Le Pen is. So I am 100% against Le Pen. And as for anything else, as long as it's a democratic candidate that comes out first in the French presidential elections, we're good. That's my stance on this. Okay, so I said to you that I won't talk that much about politics. Now is the second time after the war of aggression that Putin started against Ukraine where you hear my political opinion. I'm trying to curb that down. So much for that. Yeah. And now you're going to hear more of my political opinions, I guess, because I went to see The Secrets of Dumbledore, so the third part of Fantastic Beasts, on Monday, the 11th. I 100% do not condone the opinions J.K. Rowling has expressed about trans people. I am not a trans-exclusive radical feminist. I wouldn't even call myself a feminist in most cases, even though I'm, of course, a supporter of women's rights. But I think that some ideas that are tied to the idea of feminism, like thinking that one gender is worth more than the other, that is something that I do not condone. I think all people have equal worth, and of course that includes trans women. And of course trans women are women. Just to be clear about that. But I would love for this franchise to continue. I would love for us to see parts 4 and 5 that had been planned originally. And I also think Mads Mikkelsen is a very good actor as Gellert Grindelwald. If you didn't know that Dumbledore was gay, J.K. Rowling said that, I believe, more than 15 years ago, question mark. in 2007, I believe. So if you didn't know that, then here's an update on that. It's been 15 years since we've known that, so it's nice to actually see that acknowledged in a popular movie. So there is my resolution of the planner struggle that I've been talking about already, working through that. My sterling ink sub box for May arrived, and of course I loved it, and I'm explaining how I use it. Like in here, in my B6 Stellology, of course. You've already seen that in my April flip as well, if you've watched that. And of course also in my Cedon planner. On Thursday, I'm writing about the stationery pen challenge that Raisa from Spellbound Notes and Cindy Günther Boldo started at almost the same time, so not related. They did it independently from each other, but the idea is the same. If you are into the makeup community, which I'm very much not, I don't care about makeup, I'm sorry. I believe I also mentioned that in my February flip, but panning means that you like see this part of like a makeup product. So you see that it's going to end, and in the end, you're going to hopefully use all of it. In my book, this happens far too soon with these cream powder thingies. I'm running through those way too fast, in my opinion, but oh well, it just is what it is. So it's not like I want to pan all my stationery. I love getting a good use out of it, but I also love for it to last long. But what I do want to pan are my 0.7 Pentel Energels and also one 0.7 Pilot G2 that I have. I'm actually almost finished with the G2. As you can see here, there's just the silicone grease and there's just a little bit of red ink still left in there. There is this much of blue ink left in my 0.7 Pentel Energel, but I still got a long way to go with my 0.7 Pentel Energels in violet and brown, I believe. Also cherry blossoms that you can see here as deco. Here I'm mentioning that I watched the Instagram stories of Amanda Lee Plans. I love that account, love Amanda, everything that Amanda does. So she cut this Lauren Phelps Design Standard TN vinyl cover at the back and taped it back together in order to make it fit her Kinbo. And that worked really well for her. So love that idea. I wanted to note it down here. And I also received a refill for the Antique Linen Distress Ink by Tim Holtz that I used to distress the edges of my Kinbo. And I needed that refill to re-ink my ink pad, and that worked out really well. Love that. And I also like that drawing, actually. Think that worked out quite well. This is a bit of a boring page, but well, you can't have all pages that are pretty. It's good. And this is also smeared, so whatever. Yeah, and I'm talking about how I'm using my Cedon planner here, that I'm greatly enjoying the Shakespeare journal that I have, and that I would love to continue with something like this in the next year, maybe. I mean, there is a poem for every day of the year and a poem for every night of the year that I know of. I believe there are some others as well. So I'd love to continue that in some way, shape or form in 2023. That's at least my current opinion. Then on Sunday was Easter Sunday, and I'm reflecting about the origins of the term Easter egg. So the cast of the Rocky Horror Picture Show had an Easter egg hunt in 1975, but they didn't find most of the eggs, only for them to appear in random locations throughout the film. So that's how that Urban Dictionary meaning of Easter egg came about. So it's a hidden item placed in media to spot for close watchers or close readers. And here I've got this little Happy Easter sticker that is a surprise Easter egg because it shows Yuri Plisetsky from the anime Yuri on Ice. That's about figure skating. I also had a very interesting and fulfilling book club discussion on that day, in which we talked about the differences between religious beliefs from the Eastern and the Western Hemisphere, and also the missionary nature and practice of early and high medieval Christianity, and how easy it is to demonize people or to dehumanize them, as opposed to humanizing people. Yeah, and here I had to make the experience that there was a split in my ink cartridge that I had filled with a syringe with diamine pink ice, and that caused a good amount of ink to spill inside of the pen body of my Faber-Castell grip that I've been talking about at the end of January. That's it. And at first I thought there was something wrong with the pen, but no, the pen was actually fine. What had happened was that the ink that had spilled inside the pen body had no other means to go out than through the feed and the nib. So actually, it was testimony that this pen is very good quality and that no ink spills outside. If something spills, the only way it has is to go out through the feed and the nib. And if it's capped, nothing can spill. So those of you who might be on the fence about purchasing fountain pens, about, well, what happens if something spills and so on, nothing spills. If it's a good fountain pen, and this Faber-Castell grip is a good fountain pen, even though it is cheap, it only cost me about, under 15 euros, I believe, it's still a very good pen and very safe. Just telling this story. Even though obviously I didn't like the ink blotches that it made on my Hobonichi weeks when I used it to write in that. But that wasn't the fault of the pen, that was the fault of the ink cartridge that had split. On Tuesday the 19th, I watched Cindy Günther Baldur's podcast in which she talked about the Evo Planner personality test. I took that test as well. And according to that test, I'm an alchemist. I take in information from external sources and cast a wide net of ideas and theories. I greatly enjoy speculating, brainstorming, and exchanging ideas with others. I see the world as full of possibilities, malleable, and potentially something to be changed into my ideal. That's true. I was a bit skeptical about that 5-minute assessment at first, but I think, yeah, it is true. It fits. And I also like the reminder that one of the daily pages of this planner is, today I will discover something new by. Yeah, I think you should try to discover something new every day. Whatever it is, small, big, just one thing that feeds your brain. And that's what I like about this planner. I won't buy it because it doesn't lie flat. And I think the daily task breakdown is too prescriptive for me. Like you have one major task that you need to split into different steps and several smaller tasks. I don't always have that. I sometimes have only smaller tasks to tackle. Sometimes I only have a big task to tackle, but one that can't always be split up in different, or that it doesn't make sense for me to write the different parts down. I know what parts it has, but if it's something that I do routinely, I don't need to write down the steps, I just do them. So that's that. It's too prescriptive for me. That planner won't work for me, but the reminder to have something every day to discover anew, that's great in my opinion. Okay, my 5 cents on that planner. On Wednesday, I filmed my Hobonichi A6 flip for March. I also swatched some inks in my new ink journal, and then I'm talking again about said ink journal that you can also see here. I just put some sterling ink vellum inside, but other than that, it's still the good old Hobonichi first half of the deck that I purchased and that you're going to see more of in the future, I believe. Yeah, and here I bought The Secrets of Dumbledore Movie Magic, a book about the film. I really like it because it also contains stickers and ephemera. However, the glue is horrible. I hate that glue because if you take off a sticker, you often take off part of the page it's stuck on, and that shouldn't happen. I mean, there are so many like journals, magazines that glue something in, and all that remains is usually a darker dot. Normally, you don't rip off part of the page when you lift whatever it is that's glued inside a magazine. And here it happens, even though it is fresh glue and a new book. That should not happen. So that's the only beef I have with this book. Other than that, I'm very happy with it. I think the pictures are well chosen, and I think the information that we get, the additional information, is also quite nice. On Friday, I didn't pan the hazelnut cappuccino, or hazelnut chocolate cappuccino, I believe it is, that my mom gave me for Easter. But if you see, again, Easter was Sunday, and I'm almost through with it on Friday, and I actually finished it on Saturday, so it didn't last very long. It was delicious, and my mom has, like, the supermarkets closer to her have the better, like, cappuccino stuff, which is a bit sad, but I hope I'm going to get more sometime soon. On Saturday, I actually wrote about Shakespeare again, because this is the day that William Shakespeare died in 1616. It might also be the day he was born. We don't know that, because we only know that he was baptized on April the 26th in 1564. And it's also St. George's Day, so it is like the day of the patron saint of England. And so I'm just using it to write a bit about Shakespeare and about adaptations. I do love Kenneth Branagh as Shakespeare. I know some people think it's too like popularized the way he does Shakespeare. I think he's made Shakespeare quite accessible with his films, and that's what I think is really the merit of his films. And I also think that if you're getting into Shakespeare, for example, if you want to get into Hamlet and you're watching the Kenneth Branagh version of it, which is quite long, you're getting a good overview. And I think if you're watching either a film or a play, like an acted version of a Shakespeare play first, it will actually make the text more accessible to you. It might also guide your interpretation, that's true. So that's a danger there. But if you want to like take one step back, then this is my go-to. It's the Rough Guide to Shakespeare. It's unfortunately out of print, and it's also rather old because it's from 2009, the second edition. There is also a first edition, which is from, I believe, 2004 or 2005, so quite old. But it's the concisest summary of these plays, and also the best summary of the acting history that I know of. Of course, it doesn't cover anything past 2008, 2009. But if you want to go back, if you want to have historical information about Shakespeare acting, this is the way to go. So this opens up this world, in my opinion, which is why I love this book in particular. And I would love for it to have a new edition. I would love for it to have an updated version that gives you all the information about the latest plays that people did in the past 10 years. I would love for that to exist. So I do hope there will be some revamped edition of that at some point. I'm not very positive about it. I don't think there will be an update on this, but I would love for it to exist. Because, as I said, I think this is the best step. This is the best opener to the world of Shakespeare plays, and also the world of Shakespeare in general. Then here, I'm reflecting on the day I watched James Bond Spectre on the 18th. It's only the second movie starring Daniel Craig I'm watching. Yeah, that's actually true. I don't think there is any other movie starring Daniel Craig I watched except for these two Bond movies, Spectre and Skyfall. And I do love what Daniel Craig did with his take on James Bond. I think Skyfall was still too serious and too earnest in my opinion, because in my opinion, the only way to talk about or to show the like womanizer that does all these incredible stunts in order to like save the world, can you not ironize that? I mean, of course, there is Austin Powers and there is Johnny English, and they do that. But before them, Roger Moore did it as well. So I think you can't really ironize Bond films. And I think that's also what makes them enjoyable, like the comical aspects of them, like the comical aspects of stunts and the like. So that's what I loved about Spectre, that this element is coming back. And it's also the reason why my favorite Bond is actually Roger Moore, because he does that. I also like Timothy Dalton's James Bond because he humanized Bond. And I also like The Living Daylights in particular, also because of this iconic cello sleigh ride scene. So the cello case is the sleigh, and he's steering it with a cello. Of course, I'm a cellist actually, so I shouldn't like this quite as much, but I do think it is funny. I love it actually. So that's that. Like you see, I love the ironic aspects of it. So I'd love to watch A Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale with Daniel Craig as well at some point. I love the vintage aspect of this spread, or this page. And here I'm talking about one of my favorite bands, the power metal band Camelot. I just love this band, okay? And I would love to start a music journal with it as well, also inspired by Amanda Lee Plants, because she bought the Traveler's Records Passport TN, and she's using the insert that came with it as a music journal. And I love that idea. That's what I'm writing here. Getting back to that soon. Here I'm celebrating my 1,600 day streak on Duolingo. I'm actually not sure if it's really 100 days, since I had my 1,500 day streak, which I had sometime in January, here on the 14th. Might be a few days more, because you can purchase streak freezes with the coins you earn as you practice. And I've got 2 streak freezes applied. So sometimes I forget to practice one day, and then I'm repurchasing one streak freeze, and it's all good. If I have more time after the end of June, we'll see about that, I might revamp my Spanish and actually relearn maybe French, maybe Spanish, one of these two, because I'm on an intermediate level with both of them, and I'd like to get better with both of them. So that's that. This is a very colorful spread that swatches my inks, or the inks from my Pilot Petit pens, fountain pens, with Q-tips. And I haven't been doing that for long, but in this ink swatch journal, I'm using Q-tips to swatch them, and I just wanted to have like a pretty page, a colorful page doing that. These are Lloyd designed butterflies, and I'm also commemorating doing mini golf with other people. We played in a group of 4. I'm not good at it, but I did come out second with the third person who also played. So 2 people came out second, me and another person. One was better than us and one was worse than us. And we just had fun. It was nice. Here I'm talking again about Amanda Lee Plants and how she uses this Passport TN as a music journal. And she actually uses the cover art with the little disc at the side to indicate albums, and the cassette tape stamp for individual songs that she wants to talk about. And I think that's a brilliant idea. Not sure yet what I'm going to do, but I would love to start a music journal and do something similar. That's all there is. We're on Saturday the 30th. This is today. In May, for May, I just wrote a list of books I'd love to read in May, a list of bands I'd like to revisit, of course also Camelot. This is the sterling ink vellum again that came with the sub box. And there you can see, well, you see that there is nothing yet, just Sunday and a bit of washi tape underneath that matches in color. What I would also like to show you now is that I'm using this Hobonichi photograph booklet to keep some of my sterling ink stuff. This is still from April. Like I said, it's April the 30th, so it's still like the active sub box. Then some more stickers, stuff, and these are transfer stickers. This is for May. Yeah, and that's basically all there is. Ah yes, and the water stencil, of course, that I have here is also quite nice. Yeah, and if I'm going back and telling you what my favorite spreads are, this is quite nice in my opinion. This is one of my favorites. Like I said, I would love, or in hindsight, I wish I had chosen the inks like the other way around, but I do love how this looks. This is more like generic stuff. This is quite nice in my opinion. It's also quite nice. Yeah, okay. Bland, okay. Rather bland. This is actually quite nice with the frame here. This also, but together they don't look quite as good. This is nice, and this is nice, and I also like how they look together. Yeah, it's okay, I guess. Love that one. Especially like the cut photograph in the middle. Really love that. This is also a favorite of mine, how this looks. I mean, both of them are good. They don't go together all that well, but they like as individual pages, they're good. This is also quite okay. That doesn't look, I mean, it's colorful, I guess. So there you have it. My assessment of these spreads in addition to the spreads themselves. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope it gave you some inspiration, and I would love to see you back in May. If you want to watch my May video as well and you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Please also consider liking this video if you enjoyed it, and I would love to see you next month for my May flip through. Bye!